shiver. Goalkeepers, nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80.
So Chelsea, apparently, according to some reports, have agreed a deal with AC Milan for the transfer of, AC Milan goalkeeper Mike Maignan. Now, fair warning, this news or sort of this piece of information hasn't come from the likes of Fabrizio Romano or David Ornstein, who are like the main guys when it comes to transfer updates. But this is still something that I think is nice to discuss. So I'll share my screen in a moment, but the reported fee that both parties have reportedly agreed on is 18 million euros. 18 million euros. So let's see what the report says and we'll take it from there. So I will go to, I'll bring this up here. Now that's it. And I'll share my screen. So according to Eurofoot, it says breaking Chelsea expected to close the signing of Mike Maignan, 29, from Milan tomorrow. Fee around 80 million euros. Unless any twist, he will become a new Chelsea player. The English club want him for the Club World Cup. Reports according to Gazzetta Sports. It's an Italian outlet now. So I want to know what are your thoughts and opinions about this. You're happy with a possible Mike Maignan deal or not? Now, so for me, obviously, I will be happy. I am happy, with this deal if it indeed comes to fruition, if it indeed happens, because Chelsea just needs a top-class goalkeeper. And I think Mike Maignan is a top-class goalkeeper. Now, I know after the games for Spain versus France, a lot of people that use that one game to judge him to say, oh, but he considered 5 goals. How can he be a good goalkeeper? Sometimes goalkeepers have bad games. Sometimes the team they're playing for at that moment could have a bad game. So you could have a poor result like that. So for me, Mike Maignan, I think, is a good buy. He should come in, and then the likes of Rob Sanchez should be gone. Wherever he will be sold to, it should be gone. Mike Maignan should come in and be the number one. I'm super, super happy about this news if he indeed comes in, but slightly sad because that means Petrovic wouldn't be Chelsea's number one, and that means he may not be likely that Petrovic will stay at Chelsea, because once you've tasted that number one berth, you are the number one keeper for Strasbourg. You wouldn't want to really go back and be a number two, because every goalkeeper really wants to be a number one. Look at what happened with Kelleher at Liverpool. He's been Alice's number two for a while now, but he's just had to move, and he's indeed left and decided to go join Brentford. Now, you've also seen Petrovic. If Mike Maignan comes in, then that means that he has to leave, because I think Mike Maignan is just ever so slightly better than him overall. And then Rob Sanchez would have to leave, in my opinion. He just has to go. Then maybe Philip Jorgensen could be the number two, because the way I see it, Rob Sanchez, once again, the same thing I said about Petrovic, he's tested being number one, so he wouldn't really feel all too comfortable being a number two. And then we've heard that there's some interest from West Ham for Rob Sanchez. I'm praying that is true, so he can go off to West Ham, and then can have Mike Maignan as the number one. So for me, happy about that if it indeed comes to fruition. So what are your thoughts and opinions? So I know Chelsea really hoping to get the Mike Maignan deal done before Tuesday, so he could be registered for the Club World Cup, Club World Cup squad going into that tournament. And the tournament is a big one where you want to put your best foot forward, and hopefully you want to, win or go as far as possible as you can indeed go. So for me, that's why the fact that we haven't really got a striker in the building, rather Liam Delap is in the building for sure, but I would have wanted a more experienced striker. But let's go Liam Delap and see what he does, because he's the one in the building. That's who we'll rock with. And then the transfer fee for what's his face now, Hugo Ekitike, is a bit too much. I think Chelsea is still trying to negotiate with the deal. They haven't left the negotiation table yet. At least that are reports that we've been hearing. So what are your thoughts on Mike Maignan? Are you happy with the goalkeeper, or you would prefer someone else, or possibly would have preferred Petrovic? But definitely for sure, I know no sensible Chelsea fan would want what's his face, Robert Sanchez, to still be the number one. For me, he just had to go. Rob Sanchez, don't get me wrong, he had his moments. He had his good moments. He made, some very important saves for Chelsea. In Nottingham Forest game, he did so. In some other games, he made some important saves. But overall, the way he plays, the mistakes he makes, he's so shaky on the ball, especially given the fact that Enzo Maresca wants to play out from the back. He's too shaky and too indecisive. Now, Philip Jorgensen was better at playing out from the back, but when it came to the primary function of the goalkeeper, that's where he lacked in terms of being able to stop shots, those basic things. That's where he really, really lacked. So, and each time Philip Jorgensen got the opportunity to sort of stake a claim for that starting spot, he always found a way to fluff his lines. He always found a way to scoop out his own opportunities. So for me, I think Rob Sanchez goes off to West Ham. Mike Maignan comes in as number two. Philip Jorgensen remains as number two, while Mike Maignan is the number one. So he fits the mold. I think he's a very good shot stopper, very good reflexes as well, and then he can play out from the back. But one thing I just don't like with modern football is everyone is beginning to judge him or use the metric of his passing. Now, passing out from the back is good because that's what Enzo Maresca wants to do. But for me, let's judge goalkeepers on their ability to save or prevent goals, because that's it at the end of the day. Because that's the same thing that happened with Onana. Oh, he can play out from the back. He takes a lot of risk, and then he went to Manchester United and has been absolutely dross, in my opinion. So I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are about this. Let me know in the chats. And then there's also the news about Bynoe-Gittens, that Chelsea have put in another bid to Borussia Dortmund for the services of Bynoe-Gittens. Now, for me, I'll share my screen in a minute, and then I would, give my opinion on the Bynoe-Gittens deal. Because for me, I don't see signing of Bynoe-Gittens as all too important as a priority. Well, it's nice to have, but I don't see it as an ultimate priority. But let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll just share my screen in a minute. So let's just go. Let's share screen. So we can see Bynoe-Gittens. Okay, so see Chelsea, after Borussia Dortmund rejected the first one, they've gone in and made another offer. Now, so Chelsea after Borussia Dortmund's English forward Jamie Gittens, and have offered 35 million euros. That's $40 million, according to German reports late Saturday. However, Dortmund has said to want 50 million euros for the 20-year-old who arrived at the Bundesliga club in 2020. Now, that bid has been rejected, but according to reports, a new sort of bid has been put in, or is expected to go in. So overall, what are your thoughts on Bynoe-Gittens? As a transfer target, would you be happy if it does arrive at the club? Now, for me, any player that Chelsea signs, I will always support. But for me, the question is it really that need? Does Chelsea really need Bynoe-Gittens? No. You've got Madueke there, you've got Pedro Neto on your side, and then you've got Tyreek George. Let's not forget Tyreek George has indeed been improving and really has joined the squad really well, been integrated really well, and suddenly he's looking like he's part of the squad. He's looking like he's meant to be there alongside Josh Archampong. They look like they're meant to be part of the squad. They're meant to play at that level. Now, make no mistake, if you're signing Bynoe-Gittens, you have to accept, you have to embrace the fact that 100% he's going to take the developmental spot of Tyreek George. 100%, you have to accept that. You have to accept that 100%. Now, are we saying you probably have Tyreek George go over and play on the yeah, and play on the right as a right winger alongside Pedro Neto, while Madueke and Bynoe-Gittens be the two wingers on the left. Is that what we're saying is going to happen? Let's see how that shakes out. So, but for me, I don't see Bynoe-Gittens as a huge priority for Chelsea, not at all. One of the thoughts and opinions are because I don't see him as a needle mover. And the way he plays, that's another thing we have to remember. The way Bynoe-Gittens plays and the way Enzo Maresca has used his wingers gives me cause for concern. You know, a lot of people say, oh, he's a typical Enzo Maresca winger. No, I don't think he is. He's got the pace. He can go both ways. He's got skill. But the way Enzo Maresca has used Madueke, has used Neto this past season, for me, just says Gittens would struggle as well. He always leaves them isolated 1v2, 1v3. And that wouldn't help. Except you're going to have a new change to the tactics where you have your fullbacks overlapping, especially due to the fact that we now have a lot of midfielders in the building. You know, Leslie Gochukwu is to come back. You know, Andre Santos is to come back on loan from loan as his loan spell from Strasbourg as well. You have Lavia in the building already. You have Caicedo in the building already, and of course Dario Esugo will be joining the club after his loan to Las Palmas after the deal has been completed. So you have 5 actual midfielders in the building. So does that mean there'll be a tweak to the tactics where you have Enzo Maresca allowing his fullbacks to actually bomb forward, and then you have 2 midfielders that can sit in front of the back 4? Are we going to see something like that? Because if we see those sort of things where the fullbacks are allowed to overlap, then and only then would you sort of free the wingers to go 1v1 most of the time versus the opposition fullbacks. But if he still remain, if Maresca is still insistent on having his players in the mid, having fullbacks rather invert and remain in the midfield, then that's going to be a problem. That's really going to be a problem. A lot of people have criticized Madueke. He's not good. He's this. He's poor. A lot of people have criticized Pedro Neto as well. That he's poor. He struggles. Some people say Estevao Willian coming in is going to shine, but still, you need to create that isolation. And one of the ways you create isolation, winger versus fullback, is having your own fullback draw the attention of maybe a defender that comes to help out the fullback or the fullback himself, and then you can then have that 1v1 winger versus fullback. But if you don't do that, then that is an issue. That becomes a problem for you. And Bynoe-Gittens is no different. He is no different. Estevao Willian is no different. You have to find ways to free up these players to go 1v1. And therefore, you have to allow the fullbacks to overlap. Now, that's a question I have to ask. Bynoe-Gittens coming in, okay, he comes in, I'll support him, of course, but how does he fit in? How does he play? And let's not forget, in the Bundesliga, balls are always played in quickly to the wingers. So they get the ball quick, they rush at the defense quickly with pace. But with the slow build-up play of Maresca, would he really suit what Chelsea want to do? That's the question that we have to answer. So what are your opinions on Bynoe-Gittens? What are your opinions on Mike Maignan? Now, I'll go to some other transfer news not related to Chelsea, more related to some Nigerian players. So I'll talk about Philip Otele. Philip Otele was originally on loan from Al Wahada to the Swiss club Basel, FC Basel, and he had a very good stint with the club. The loan stint was successful. It was very instrumental to their success this season. So the Swiss club FC Basel have decided to trigger that buyout clause, and now so he should be signing an agreement with them to remain at the club till 2028. And now that's very good, in my opinion, from a Nigerian perspective. Now, the question I've asked, especially with the Unity Cup that went by, was this. You want to use the Unity Cup to give players opportunities all over the world that is to play for Nigeria. And then who do you play? Ahmed Musa. You invited Ahmed Musa to the team and you know he's not good enough. The likes of Philip Otele should have gotten that opportunity. He should have gotten the opportunity, but he didn't get it. And now I'm so happy because he's got this deal now. He's now in mainstream Europe, and let's see what he can do. I hope he's able to, you know, sort of reenact his present form, and hopefully this is not just a one-off season. It doesn't become a one season wonder. He can go on and grow from there in leaps and bounds. So hopefully, let's see how it turns out, and hopefully he does get an international call up from Chill. Now another Nigerian forward, at least forward is eligible to play for Nigeria. He is, Kevin Omoruyi, Kevin Carlos Benjamin Omoruyi. That's a mouthful. It's a powerful, pacey forward, kind of like a Liam Delap. So I think let's see how he can develop further at Basel. He scored 12 goals in 31 games, for the Swiss club, and for me that's decent. I'll say that's a decent outlay, but it's not super fantastic. That's decent. So nice to see what he can do. And I'll say NFF, you have to take note of this player as well. Now we all know Victor Boniface. He made the statement he made. No one's quite sure if he's indeed serious or he's joking. But I've said Victor Boniface, he's always joking. He's always fun on X. He's always fun on TikTok and other platforms. So no one knows if he's indeed serious about retiring. But even if it's a 1%, there's a 1% chance of that he's retiring. Then the NFF have to begin, scouting and looking at alternatives, looking at other options as well. And even if he isn't retiring, his form for the national team hasn't been the greatest. He scored a lot of goals for Bayer Leverkusen, but hasn't scored that much goals for, the Nigerian Super Eagles. So for me, I think maybe can have a look at Kevin, Omoruyi. It could be another decent option. He's powerful, he's pacey, and it really has a powerful technique. Really has a good technique when it comes to striking the ball, and really a powerful striker of the ball. So I think these qualities definitely don't make him number one striker for Nigeria. Definitely not. Maybe not even number two, but at least a good third option to be part of the Nigerian Super Eagles. Because for me, Tola Rokodare has begun to take his opportunities. He scored his first goal against Russia. He's beginning to look the part. So Victor Osimhen is your number one. Tola Rokodare and Cyril Dessers, are sort of like 2A and 2B at this moment. So you have to look for your third striking option, your third option in terms of a striker. So that's my personal opinion on that. I would like to know what you think in the chat about Kevin Omoruyi and Philip Otele signing a new deal, for Basel. Now, back to the news about Mike Maignan signing for Chelsea. What is your take? What are your thoughts and opinions about it? Do you think he's a good fit for Chelsea? Are you happy with the deal? Because I've seen some people, who are really, I wouldn't say militant, but who are more in the camp for Petrovic and don't really want Mike Maignan, which is odd. For me, I think he should come in immediately because Chelsea needs that profile, of goalkeeper. He's not the biggest in terms of goalkeepers. He's 6'3", which normally is a decent height. If a regular person, if you're a striker, it's a good height. But for goalkeepers nowadays, you're seeing goalkeepers 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". Now, while it is good to have a big goalkeeper, but sometimes size doesn't really matter that much. Because Robert Sanchez has shown us. Robert Sanchez was 6 foot 6 inches tall, but he was a basket case when it came to doing the job on the pitch as the goalkeeper. So happy to have Mike Maignan in the building. What are your thoughts and opinions on Mike Maignan? What are your thoughts and opinions on Bynoe-Gittens as a Chelsea, as a Chelsea player? And then there's further news about, I don't know how, fair warning, I don't know how accurate this is. I think AC, I don't know. Okay. I don't know how accurate this is with respect to this news, but there's talk about a rejection. That Bayer Leverkusen rejecting Liverpool's latest bid of £140 million. Now that is crazy to me. Rejecting £140 million. How much do you want? You insisting on 120? That is just insane to me. And then Jassim says Milan should accept the 15 million. Because Chelsea reportedly have made a 15 million euro. No, it was said it was 18 million euro offer um, to AC Milan, and probably AC Milan should accept it. Well, especially given the fact that the player has 1 year left on his contract, and then come January, the player could decide to negotiate with a different club and leave on a free come the summer of 2026. So probably AC Milan are back to the corner and would want to accept this. But there is one thing that you always have to be mindful of. You may think you're the A side, you may think you're the only side interested, and some other side can come in last minute, put in that bid, and get Mike Maignan from you. Because some people think Mike Maignan suddenly is a Chelsea fan, or he suddenly loves Chelsea more than any club in the world. Now, he wants to leave AC Milan, that's for sure. He would love to play in the Club World Cup, that's for sure. But there are other clubs that can offer that Club World Cup berth. So if you're Chelsea and you want him to play in that Club World Cup, go ahead, be swift about it, and get the deal done. Get the deal done. Get the deal done 100%. Because for me, Mike Maignan is a game changer. He will be a game changer for Chelsea. So while for me, we didn't meet my expectations in terms of the striker coming in, we have to rock with Liam Delap. What can we do? But the goalkeeping situation, Robert Sanchez just has to leave. He's not good enough. He's just not good enough. And Mike Maignan, I think, just changes the game for Chelsea completely. Because if Chelsea, at least going into next season, wants to be in that, not top 4 hunt, but be settled in the top 4, then you need to get the top goalkeeper in. Because Newcastle United are going to invest, for sure. Manchester United are already investing. And then Liverpool, you've seen what Liverpool are doing. And you've also seen, what Manchester City are doing. Manchester City are also stocking up, rebuilding their squad crazily. So Chelsea cannot afford to sit back and watch things just, go by. So Mike Maignan used to be in the building. What do you feel about Jim Gittens as well? Gittens, for me, like I said, is he really needed at Chelsea? I'm not quite sure that he is what Chelsea needs at this point, except certain tweaks to how Chelsea play, will be put in place by Enzo Maresca. But even at that, is he really the one? Some say Rodrigo. Rodrigo, I think he's better than Bynoe-Gittens, but possibly he'll be more expensive, and his salary demands could be way more than what the sporting directors and the ownership at Chelsea would want to pay. So let's think about that for a minute. Bynoe-Gittens again, he is another young player, so ups and downs again, going into the next season. So you have a young striker that is still raw, ups and downs, maybe more downs than up, and then you have a winger as well that you're bringing in, still very young coming into the building, not much experience in Europe, and then you have the ups and downs as well. Now for the Bynoe-Gittens deal, the reports are personal terms wouldn't be an issue in terms of Chelsea agreeing wages and all that with Bynoe-Gittens, and he's more open. It's clear that he's open to joining Chelsea, but it's just to agree the fee with Dortmund. So let's see how that shakes down. I want to know your thoughts and opinions about that, and as well, if you're a Nigerian football fan, what do you think about Philip Otele? Actually being signed, by FC Basel on a permanent transfer after his impressive season with the club. And what do you think about Kevin Omoruyi as a striking option for Nigeria? What are your thoughts and opinions about that? And what are your opinions on the possibility of Nigeria qualifying for the World Cup? Let me know. So if you're a Chelsea fan, we've talked about goalkeepers, talked about a left winger. What other areas do you think Chelsea needs to address in this transfer window? And not just transfer window overall, because we know we just have this special transfer window for the Club World Cup, so clubs can reinforce their teams as they prepare to go in for the Club World Cup. So beyond this, even what players would you want to see Chelsea get? What players would you want to see Chelsea get? There also to talk about, because Arsenal are still working on getting Sesko, in the building. Let's see how that shakes out. And then, of course, there's some reports that Napoli and Al Hilal have agreed a fee for Victor Osimhen. Now, and some people have said Victor Osimhen has also given a nod in terms of personal terms with Al Hilal. But please note that these reports haven't come from the main sources, and you know the main sources. And once you hear these reports from them, you know that's good to go. So from your David Ornstein, your Fabrizio Romano, and I think Fabrice Hawkins is pretty accurate as well. But this report hasn't emerged from them. But so, what do you think about all that? So for me, I usually say if you're a striker, especially an African striker, if you want to go to Saudi Arabia, make sure you want to play there and you're not looking to come back to Europe. But as it is right now, clubs are making a big deal of signing Victor Osimhen. They're making a big deal of his wages. They're making a big deal of paying the release clause. So it looks like no club in Europe wants to sign him for whatever reason. So for me, you go to Saudi. I know as a Nigerian, I want him to be playing for a top club in Europe and continue to build on his legacy that is already, perfectly put in place in terms of what he's done at Napoli, what he's done at Galatasaray. I'd have been happy if he's come to Chelsea and then also show what it's all about in the Premier League, but it doesn't seem that's going to happen. Whatever the reasons are, so for me, I'll just get peace of mind if I was advising Victor Osimhen, get some peace of mind, and and go to Saudi. Now, speaking more about him is the question I want to ask. His agents, what are they doing, by the way? You just allow people keep lying about your client day after day, making it feel like he's requesting for 20 million pounds or some crazy amount day after day, and no one's saying anything. Some agents go and they take up interviews, and they explain their client side of things. But his agents, for whatever reason, they just seem to sit back and watch things happen. So that's just crazy to me. Victor Osimhen's demands are still the same. It's in and around 10 million pounds. But Al Hilal are offering mad money. So I think it's about 35 million euros now, or very close to 40. And they are also in the Club World Cup. So they're looking to get a marquee signing, going into the tournament. And don't you forget, they also have Simone Inzaghi as their head coach. So possibly he has experience coming up against Victor Osimhen, and he thinks he's someone that can be a huge difference for the club, in that competition. And of course, Victor Osimhen would be a huge difference, a difference maker for any club he plays for. But it seems it's not going to happen in Europe. Let's see how that shakes down. So, if you are a Chelsea fan, what are your thoughts and opinions on this reported transfer news with respect to Bynoe-Gittens? Are you happy with it? Are you happy with the talk about Mike Maignan being signed up? What are your thoughts and opinions about that? For me, super happy about Mike Maignan. Super happy about that. He comes in and changes the game instantly. Robert Sanchez should be heading to West Ham. But for me, happy with that bit. Bynoe-Gittens transfer news, not so much, in my opinion. What are your opinions out on that bit? Just give me a minute and I will be back in minutes. Yeah, so now some Arsenal bit of news. There are reports that Arsenal are interested in Rodrigo. So Arsenal fans, what do you think about Rodrigo joining your club? For me, first off, I think that deal is not too possible. I think the chances of that happening is very slim because for one, Rodrigo, I think he loves playing for Real Madrid, and then of course you've got Xabi Alonso as the new coach of Real Madrid, and I think he would give Rodrigo more opportunities than Ancelotti would have given him. So I'm not too confident that Arsenal would be getting Rodrigo, or even that Rodrigo is even really open to leaving Real Madrid. I think it's more like you have some quarrel with your family, but you don't really want to leave your family. You're just hoping, everybody can shake hands that you can sort of make amends. So I think that's what's happening with Rodrigo. I don't think he's all too open to, leaving leaving Real Madrid. So Arsenal fans, what do you think about Rodrigo? The possibility of him joining you? Do you think it's a deal that you can complete? For me, I'm not too confident that he would even want to leave. He's someone that I would want to be at Chelsea, but I don't think that is going to even happen. And then as well, you have, of course, and then as well, and then you have the link to Sané. Sorry, Leroy Sané. You have the links of Leroy Sané to Arsenal. Now, the question with Leroy Sané is, I don't think he's still got it. He still has pace. Don't get me wrong, but he's a player right now that I think you would have to be a hugely counter-attacking team for him to be of any benefit to you. I know some Arsenal fans who love him, who like him. Right now, I even rate Bynoe-Gittens slightly ahead of him. He's got the pace, he's got more experience than Bynoe-Gittens, for instance. But the way he plays, I think he's someone that would really thrive in a counter-attacking side. I don't think he's someone that would really thrive in an Arsenal. That's the way I see it. But Arsenal fans, what do you think about possible links to Leroy Sané, possible links to Rodrigo? Is that something that can indeed happen? Do you think you can do it? For me, I just think Real Madrid will keep Rodrigo, even at least for just one more season under Xabi Alonso. Xabi Alonso is one of those new modern progressive coaches that could come up with some dynamic way of using Rodrigo and keeping him happy in the team. So I just think possibly Rodrigo would remain at Real Madrid. Now, Arsenal fans, I'm sure it's a winger that you want to get. Chelsea fans, I know some Chelsea fans want him, but given the fact that Chelsea are looking at Bynoe-Gittens, that just shuts the door on Rodrigo, especially because I think his wages will be higher than what's within Chelsea sort of wage structure and all that stuff. So, all your thoughts and opinions about that, and then the Liverpool news. What's your thoughts and opinions on the reports that Bayer Leverkusen have rejected the £140 million offer made by Liverpool for the signature of Florian Wirtz? What do you think about that? For me, I just think it's crazy. 140 million. Florian Wirtz, don't get me wrong, he is a very, very good player, super talented player. Was very instrumental to Bayer Leverkusen, winning the Bundesliga two seasons ago. But I don't think it's worth that much. But yeah, I've said this: if you have the money, like as a Liverpool, you go ahead, you pay that money and get him in the building. For me, I don't quite see why you pay that much. But if Liverpool feel he's the difference maker, he's the guy to help them retain their Premier League title, then go all out and pay more. Maybe Bayer Leverkusen are holding out for a £120 million sort of transfer fee. Let's see how that shakes out. So we still have that stumbling block there with Florian Wirtz to Liverpool, and then Victor Osimhen apparently heading to Al Hilal. For me, I don't want him to go, but I see why he would go, because clubs don't want to sign him. What is he going to do? He's not going to go down on his knees and beg clubs to sign him. So if Al Hilal is the only club that's willing to sign him up, he should move there. And maybe Galatasaray as well could be a good option. He could go to Galatasaray and get signed, on a permanent deal, earn a bit more than his earning at the minute, get to play football. And I think they also qualify for the Champions League, if I'm not mistaken. So that then means he would have the opportunity to play in the Champions League and further prove what it's all about. So you can go to the Champions League if you can get maybe another 7, 8, or maybe 10 goals in the Champions League with an additional 5 assists, added to maybe another 20 plus goal a season, a goal season at Galatasaray. That instantly, would skyrocket his profile again. That would show that he can do it back to back, and then that having the opportunity to shine in the Champions League again will put him on an even higher platform, where you have the lights even brighter. So I think that could be the best move for him. So 2 things I'm looking at: Al Hilal, you go there and get the absolute bag, or you go to a Galatasaray that have already shown that they do like you. But one thing is important to know: despite having these reports being made, you haven't had them from the big guns who are like who are accurate, who are super accurate and super credible. It hasn't come from Fabrizio. It hasn't come from David Honesty. It hasn't come from Buchilaba. And I must say, Buchilaba is super accurate when it comes to Victor Osimhen. Now, I'm not sure when it comes to other players. When it comes to Victor Osimhen related news, Victor Osimhen related transfers, he's super accurate in that regard. And then I've also talked about these 2 Nigerian players, Philip Otele getting, signed on a permanent by FC Basel up to 2028. What's your opinion about that if you're a Nigerian football fan on here? And then Kevin Omoruyi, he'll be at the club as well to 2028. He is a top talent. Is this someone that I think can do something for the Nigerian Super Eagles? Yes, of course, I think he can. But I don't see him as the number 1 option, as the number 2 option. I see him as a solid number 3 option in that Super Eagles team. Now, while Boniface is known for, making a lot of jokes, being funny, being lively, so he may be joking about retiring, but if he's indeed retiring, you must get another body in the building. Of course, Dorushimi is another one that we should be looking for. And I just hope he gets his move. I hope he does get his big move, from Victoria players, and maybe he goes to the German Bundesliga. I think he will really thrive there. Maybe he can head to Frankfurt. Who knows? Maybe he can be the replacement for Hugo Ekitike if Hugo Ekitike does move. Now, there are reports that Chelsea are still, in discussions with Frankfurt with respect to signing Hugo Ekitike. But Frankfurt are still insisting on 84 million pounds, and not they don't. It doesn't seem like they're ready to shift off that table. It doesn't seem like they're ready to shift off that ask. So for me, I think 84 million is a bit too much, especially when you have better strikers, already accomplished strikers or more accomplished strikers available for less than that. You got Jokovic available for this 60 odd. You have Victor Osimhen available for a similar amount as well. So going for another fresh, raw striker that would need time to come good and get used to playing the Premier League, then that amount is too much. For someone like Victor Osimhen, he may not play in the Premier League, but he's more accomplished, more experienced, and ready to go. Same thing with Jokovic. He hasn't played. He signed for Brighton. He played for Coventry. He's gone to Sporting Lisbon and shown that in season after season after season, he can be super consistent when it comes to goal scoring and creating assists and chances for his teammates. So I think rather than going off to spend 80 plus million on a Hugo Ekitike, a Jokovic could come in and a Osimhen could come in. That's the way I see it from a Chelsea perspective. Liverpool fans, Florian Wirtz, are you scared that he wouldn't be signing for your team, given that the most recent bid, £140 million, has been rejected? What are your thoughts about that? Bynoe-Gittens, happy he's coming to Chelsea. Chelsea fans, for me, I'm not too moved because I don't see him as a needle mover, in my opinion. So, what are your thoughts and opinion about him? And then, of course, the big news about Mike Maignan. Apparently, Chelsea and AC Milan have come to an agreement on the transfer fee. So apparently, Chelsea have made an 85 million euros, offer to AC Milan, and according to those reports, like I said, they're not from the big transfer insiders, but it's something good to discuss that they've agreed 85 million euros transfer fee. Chelsea and AC Milan have agreed, to sign for the transfer of Mike Maignan, and of course, they say personal terms wouldn't be an issue. Salary and wages and all that stuff between Chelsea and Mike Magnan's camp wouldn't be an issue. So, what are your thoughts on the goalkeeper? For me, he should come in 100%. Super excited about it. I know my man Petrovic, that means he would have to leave. Maybe he could go to West Ham. Maybe he could go to the Italian Serie A. Who knows? That could be something that could work out. And there were reports that Chelsea did an exchange, attempted to exchange or swap Petrovic for Mike Maignan, and AC Milan refused that offer. They refused that swap deal. So that just would tell Petrovic that Chelsea, Maresca, they don't want him here. Especially there's some news that, rather, a post on X I saw that said Enzo Maresca said he doesn't want any of the other goalkeepers at the club, on the books of the club. He doesn't think that they, are able to match the way he wants to play. Now, for me, that's a bit hit and miss. I'm not sure he quite said that, but even if he said that, there's a huge question mark. Are you saying Mike Penders doesn't have a future at all, even if not this season, doesn't have a future at all at Chelsea? I find that hard to believe, because if you invested close to £20 million on a goalkeeper like Mike Penders with high potential, you don't just discard him. You give him opportunity to show what he can do. So maybe that's just talking about for this 2025-2026 season. Let's see how it happens. But happy to have Mike Maignan in the building for sure. Philip Jorgensen has to leave for sure. Robert Sanchez, indeed has to leave. But I wouldn't be too upset if Philip Jorgensen remains as a number 2, because injuries can happen, other things can happen. But Rob Sanchez, I think, since he's been a number 1, he wouldn't be all too pleased or comfortable with remaining as a number 2 at Chelsea nonetheless. So, what are your thoughts and opinions on all this sort of transfer news that we've talked about, piece of transfer news that we've talked about on the channel today? What are your thoughts and opinions about it? Rodrigo to Arsenal, is that something that Arsenal fans you even want to happen? Is that something you think can even happen? For me, I don't think that's something that will happen, because I just think that Rodrigo possibly would be swayed by Xabi Alonso, who's just joined Real Madrid as their new head coach, and possibly will give him another opportunity to give Real Madrid an opportunity to see if he can play. Because if it was Ancelotti, still the head coach, then I would say instantly, immediately, he'll be looking to leave the club quickly, because Ancelotti has been the head coach, and ever since he's been the head coach, Rodrigo has always played second fiddle to Mbappe, to Vini Jr., and Rodrigo likes to play on the left as a left winger, but Vini Jr. holds that left wing spot on the lockdown. So there's no way he plays there. And then even on the right, he doesn't quite get to play that often. So if Ancelotti was there, I would think that it would be more certain that Rodrigo would be on the way out. So what's his opinion about that? And then also a bit of Manchester United news, or rather Manchester United and Spurs news. Let's talk about Mbeumo. The deal for Mbeumo heading to Manchester United being hijacked by Spurs. For me now, is that something that can happen? Of course, there's a possibility of it happening, because you have Thomas Frank as the new coach of supposedly not new coach yet, but in negotiations to be the new head coach of Spurs. So if that is the case, then I'm sure part of the negotiations could be, I want some of my players from Brentford to come along with me. Someone like Mbeumo, or maybe a Wisa could be some name that Thomas Frank would want to join his team. But the problem is, when it comes to cash for cash, are they able to attract or compete with Manchester United, despite the fact that Manchester United, are not in any European competition this coming season? Of course, Spurs, they have Champions League to offer. They can say, yes, Champions League. You want to play in Champions League, that's an offer. If indeed they sign Thomas Frank as the new head coach, that could be another thing that can sway Brian Mbeumo to join Spurs. But on the flip side of things, financially, I don't think they can compete with Manchester United. And then as well, Mbeumo will already have his sights set on Manchester United, because some players just have their preferences. They have preferences of clubs they want to play for. And you may make a slightly higher offer, but they have clubs they want to play for. And sometimes rival fans don't seem to accept this or don't want to accept it. So Mbeumo have his sights, set on playing for Manchester United. So while I think there is a chance, you don't need to just look down on Spurs, but there is a chance because if you're getting Thomas Frank, a coach who's worked under them, plus the lure of Champions League football, and then the temptation of remaining in London, then that could be something that could work out. But overall, I just think possibly the deal is way too far, is gone too far already for for it to be interrupted. But can you imagine Spurs coming in, stealing the strike, stealing the player of Manchester United? What would people then say of the supposed pool of Manchester United if Mbeumo is snatched off their hands after they've had it, been in negotiation for so long? For me, I think Mbeumo and Cunha will be very good if they can get a very good striker ahead of them. Maybe a Gyökeres, maybe that would be terrifying front three, in my opinion. A terrifying front three. But that's positive. Do you think it can indeed happen? For me, not quite sure that can even happen. I don't think it is possible. I think there's slight possibility, but I don't think it will happen. I think Manchester United will get the Mbeumo deal done and over the line, and you'll be hearing it. Here we go, pretty soon. But that's on that. And then I'll go on and talk about. Let's just run through all we've talked about today. Mike Maignan finally sealed to Chelsea. Is that a transfer you'd like to see? Is that a transfer you're happy with as a Chelsea fan? Rival fans, are you worried that Chelsea are getting the top goalkeeper because Chelsea's issues have been striking, goalkeeping issues? So, are you worried? Do you think having Mike Maignan or Chelsea signing Mike Maignan, pushes them either closer to your club if you're a Liverpool or an Arsenal, or pushes them above your club if you're maybe a Manchester United or a Spurs? What are your thoughts and opinions on that bit? Let me know in the chats. And then as well, we'll talk about Liverpool's latest bid for Florian Wirtz reportedly being rejected. £140 million bid for Florian Wirtz has been rejected according to some reports. What are your thoughts about that? If you're Liverpool, are you looking to go back again and maybe raise the offer to maybe £120 million to get it done? Because I think if they offer £120 million, I'm sure that deal will be done, which is just crazy to me, offering £120 million. And then just to say this, I thought the thing was for players to, reduce their wage demands and come to, the Premier League to prove their worth before they get a big deal. But that's a different discussion for another day. But Liverpool fans, do you want your club to go in again if indeed that initial offer or the second offer of £140 million have been rejected? Do you want the club to go in again and make that offer, make a bigger offer? Is that what you want to do? Or you prefer your club, you prefer Liverpool to go in a different direction and begin to look at other options? Now you have Ryan Cherki for whatever reason. Man City seems to be the only club that having a free run at a player. There's Rooney Baji. Is that a player that you probably will go for? Of course, is at this point. Florian Wirtz is a way better player than him, but a similar profile of players. Good on the ball, good technique, good eye for a pass, skill on the ball. But right now, Florian Wirtz is a better player than he is. So, would you be considering looking at other options, or maybe go for Rafael Leao? Rafael Leao is looking to leave AC Milan. Say 70 million euros would be what AC Milan are looking for. Would you rather take a fraction of that 140 million euros, or 40 million pounds rather, and go all out for Rafael Leao, or you want to stick to your attempts to get in Florian Wirtz, and that would mean having to offer a bit more if indeed the 150 million pounds offer has been rejected. And then, Nigerian fans, what are your thoughts on Philip Otele? Are you looking and are you hoping that he's given an opportunity? Is this someone you rate, or you rate someone else? And for me, I think he should be one person that when you have these friendly games coming up, he should be given the opportunity to play. I don't want to see any Ahmed Musa in the building. He's shown his lack of commitment to the team. First off, he was invited to the team and he decided to leave the team and go back to Nigeria to get married, which is a bit odd. It's good to get married, no doubt about it. Go on, do what you want to do, but you were invited for a friendly match and you joined the team knowing what you had going on in your personal life and you couldn't stay. And then secondly, Ahmed Musa is washed. We all know that he's no longer good enough. So why are you inviting him? And he is someone that I think is retired now. So why are you inviting someone, to your national team who has retired? So and you have the likes of Philip Otele that's had a very good season so far, with FC Basel. So I think he should be given an opportunity in a friendly game to play before any main competitive game. And it's a bit sad that this opportunity was missed out. This Unity Cup game was that opportunity that he would have had to play, but he missed out on that opportunity. And Ahmed Musa was one that got the opportunity, and Ian Acho as well was another person that shouldn't have been there that was there. Then Kevin Omoruyi, what do you think about the player? I've seen a few video clips about him. He's a powerful player. He's got pace. He's got an absolute turn-off shot on him. So I think he can be another option. Osimhen is the number one option for Nigeria. Arukodare, Cyril Dessers, the second and third options in my opinion, especially with Victor Boniface not really doing it for the Super Eagles each time he's got the opportunity to play. So what's your opinion about that bit of news? And you're happy with Basel? For me, I'm happy that he's indeed left Qatar and has gone to Basel and can show what he's all about. And then Arsenal fans, Rodrigo, something you can do. Chelsea fans, are you happy with the Mike Maignan deal? Let me know in the comments. And also, are you happy with Bynoe-Gittens? Because the same personal terms have been agreed between Chelsea and Bynoe-Gittens, and Chelsea are willing to go in to make a second offer for his services to Dortmund. Would you be happy with him as a Chelsea player, as a Chelsea fan? Would you be happy with that? Or you were looking for different options? And then, are you happy going into the Club World Cup with Liam Delap as your only striker, as the only striker for Chelsea? For me, I would have preferred you have a more experienced striker come in the building. I've always said that all the videos I've had, but we have to stick with what we have. Support him going to the Club World Cup, and let's see how that shakes out. And apparently, I think the deadline to get the list of your squad list set and register for the Club World Cup is on Tuesday. So Chelsea have to act fast with this Mike Maignan deal if indeed they want to get you registered. So at this point, I've come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting the channel. And I'll see you on yet another video. Any update on strikers other than Delap? No other update on any striker apart from Delap. Delap is signed. That's it. That's known. But there's talk about Chelsea still being on the negotiation table for Hugo Ekitike. The club, Frankfurt are still insisting on 84 million pounds. But Chelsea obviously don't want to pay 84 million pounds for Hugo Ekitike. And Hugo Ekitike, unlike Mike Maignan, isn't really pushing to leave AC Milan. Isn't really pushing to leave Frankfurt. So he would like to leave, he wants to leave, but he's not making it, he's not putting too much pressure on Frankfurt that I want to leave, I need to leave. So if the player is comfortable there, then it makes it a bit more difficult, especially when you have such a high evaluation placed on the player. And like you see, Frankfurt, there are no pushovers. When they set a transfer figure, they usually get close to their asking price. So that's something that people have to take into consideration. And they have Champions League football as well. So that's more revenue for them to get. And that therefore means that really not under any pressure to sell anybody. So that is what we have to look at. And then for me, he is not really the profile that I want for Chelsea. Now, Liam Delap is the sort of profile of striker that I want in terms of physicality that he brings, the pace that he brings, the aggression that he brings. But it's just that he is super raw and he's going to be super inconsistent. So I think that's all from me for today, for the particular video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. And I'll see you on yet another video.